Welcome to episode 76 of the Broadway Shuffle with Clayton, Zyler, and Conrad. I am Brennan, and today on the show, we are going to rank each Big 12 quarterback and see where BEHREN MORTON falls on the list. But Conrad, before we do that, I've made a promise that I would stop telling people what to do. So why don't you go ahead and give a little quick message before we get into the Big 12 quarterback ranking?
Yeah, so if you're here and you're watching for the first time or maybe watching for the 50th time and you have not liked a video before or subscribed to the channel, make sure you do that. Helps us get more listeners, helps the show get bigger and better. And you're judged by your numbers in the podcast game. And so more subscribers, more viewers, we're all here for that. And so hit that subscribe button, help us out, and we'll do our very best to make this the best show possible.
Man, look at that guy. That was better than
natural.
That was complete. Now I put him on the spot. Completely natural. Z and Clay, this is going to be a fun conversation. Obviously, here as a Texas Tech sports podcast, I think some people might think we might be biased towards where BEHREN MORTON might fall on this list, but I think a lot of people are going to be surprised with our tier Big 12 quarterback ranking. This conference, Zyler, has a lot of guys returning. I was looking at the list. I mean, you lose Shedeur Sanders, who is one of the top, if not the top quarterback in the conference last year. And unfortunately, he fell and had a rough couple of weeks.
The NFL didn't think so.
The NFL didn't think so. But Z, it's going to be a heavy loaded, veteran stacked quarterback conference in the Big 12 next year.
Yeah, 10 of the starters from last year will return, and a lot of them were really good. The guys that don't come back, outside of Shedeur, you probably didn't want them to come back. You'll forgive me if you get a little feedback right now. I'm super dad right now. I'm watching the two girls as they sleep. So if you hear my youngest daughter talking into the mic, that's my bad. But yeah, more importantly, Big 12 quarterbacks. A lot of returning. Last year, you had a lot of QB battles. You were wondering who's going to actually be starting. What's the situation? Not going to be nearly as much drama here. The only teams that are going to have that kind of drama, you're going to see, at UCF, maybe at Houston, maybe at West Virginia, maybe at Oklahoma State, maybe something at Colorado. But everybody else is pretty much locked in place. So it's going to be interesting. I'm really excited to debate where some of these rankings came in. We had some pretty big disagreements on some of these guys.
Yeah, Clay, when you're looking at some of the guys that are returning, who are you most interested in watching coming into the summer and fall camp? Like, is there a returner specifically, or maybe a new quarterback on one of these teams in the Big 12 where you're like, man, this guy could be a game changer, or like that team is screwed?
I feel like we talked about him some already, but I am interested to see how Sam Levitt does this year. I feel like last year, obviously, they had no expectations, and offense was kind of centered around Scatterbo. I want to see like how he does now that he has some hype behind him. The team has some hype behind him, and he can't. The offense is not going to be run game oriented. Well, maybe it is, but it's not going to be as successful with the back this year. So I want to see if he can, continue to build on what he did as a sophomore.
Yeah, I feel like with Levitt, it's two outcomes. He either explodes because they run the offense through him, or he like massively regresses because they don't have to lean on. My ranking of him is going to be so strange. Like, there's the visual part of me. Like, I can't get the game that I watched of him in person at Tech out of my head. But also, it's like, how do I place him lower than a lot of these other guys? I'm going to be mad at myself either way, however he performs, because I feel like I'm going to choose the wrong outcome. Conrad, I did have a player I wanted to show you if you were looking for somebody new to hate in the conference. This is somebody that I think really may fit your bill. This is Taven Jackson. He's the new UCF quarterback. Wow. I figured that hairstyle, him and Avery Johnson are going to be going for best blonde locks in the conference, and it should be something that we're going to be monitoring.
Is that actually blonde though, or is it dyed? Because if it's dyed, it doesn't count. Like, if it's not a natural blonde, it's not. It can't compete with Avery for the worst locks in the conference.
I don't know. I think maybe that's going to be something we have to do a little bit of a deeper dive in. But yeah, man,
we'll ask
Taven Jackson.
DM him and ask him.
Hey, buddy, real
or those natural?
Conrad, I noticed something too before we get into the rankings. Your background, where's the Doughboy, and that you want to give us a little inside scoop into why you're no longer the best background in the podcast game?
I still think I'm actually the best background in the podcast game with the zip code pillow and the picture of my father-in-law, former baseball superstar at Coronado High School in Lubbock, Texas. So I still think I have the best background in the game, but I guess we can let our listeners decide in the comments. So
no, you definitely have the best background in this podcast, but I think you were competing for some of the best background in all of podcast previously. I mean,
yeah, I think I had Joe Rogan beat by a mile.
Easily. So, okay.
What zip code is that real quick?
It's 76033. I don't want to reveal my location, but if you want to do the Google search real quick,
do you think somebody's going to find you based on your zip code?
I don't know, man. You never know. This is a world where you can find out a lot of information on the internet. So you never know. You never know. I would not be surprised.
Someone from the comments just shows up at Conrad's house with like some Pillsbury Doughboy cookies or something.
Hey, the Pillsbury Doughboy and the Kool-Aid Man are never to be seen again. So they will not be coming back.
Come on, they got to make it appear.
My background's going to be changing here over the next few months, and so
that's sad.
It's just
okay.
Life is changing, and so the background's going to change too.
That's fair. That's fair. Okay, so how do we want to do that? My thought was we go through 4 tiers, 16 teams, 4 different tiers. You go worst. Let's start worst to best. I know we each have our individual rankings, but like I think we universally kind of have the bottom 4 kind of picked out, and it's the guy that the team that and the guy that's so curious to me is Zane Flores at Oklahoma State. And it's like we're so used to Oklahoma State minus Alan Bowman always having pretty good quarterback rooms, and it's like to see that they have the worst quarterback in the conference in our Big 12 rankings. It's just kind of surprising to see. Again, it still like doesn't feel real, the downfall of the Oklahoma State Cowboys.
Yeah, I'm pretty confident that Zane Flores won't be the worst quarterback in the conference, but there's no way to put him above anybody else right now. I think at the end of the year, he's not going to be. He'll be 10th or 12th, or maybe House Heine ends up taking that role. But there's no way he ends up being the worst one. He's got good pedigree, but he has quite literally almost no experience, and it's a bad offense.
I'm just confirming that this is the guy we're talking about.
Oh no, those are locks.
That is.
It's Trevor Lawrence, like Kmart brand.
Okay. Okay. I just wanted to confirm for our listeners that's who we're talking about.
Like I think last year, I think I had Levitt at like 13th. Like guys are going to rise up this list because you don't just have those elite NFL prospects. You also don't have those dudes that are just. You don't have the Kansas of old where they're going to be trotting out, Barry, whoever, who just can't really throw a football. It's just he's last for me, but I feel really good that he's not going to be the worst quarterback in the conference.
Yeah, I mean, the reason this is so challenging, Clay, is with the 10 returners. Like you would think this is a deep quarterback class. This is going to be a conference of A-list stud quarterbacks, but I don't feel that. Like I feel like this is a very average quarterback conference. I don't really see a lot of superstars coming out of this conference in 2025.
Agreed. And I mean, admittedly, I don't know all the quarterbacks of the other conferences, but looking through this list, there is a lot of mid QBs on this list. I mean, you get to pretty average pretty quick if you're going down the list. There are some guys who I feel like have had like real national hype at times in their careers, like Noah Fafita, Jalen Daniels, but they just haven't really put it together. And I don't really expect them to next year. So it'll be interesting to see.
Dude, I saw a mock draft for 26 today. And do y'all remember when we played Cal 2 years ago, Fernando Mendoza? Somebody had him going in the first round next year. Like there's no world where that guy's like an elite prospect, right?
No.
Granted, I watched a total of 0 minutes of Cal football outside of them playing us in 2023. But like, if that's where the elite quarterbacks are next year, like who are the elite quarterbacks next year? It's probably Nussmeier and Lenoris Sellers.
And Arch Manning. And Cade Klubnik. If you're talking names.
But Klubnik's not even that. Like, if you put Cade Klubnik on Arizona State, is he that much better?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think he's more talented.
Levitt was even mocked as like a first right now for next year.
That's so.
And it's like, he's like, I don't know. If I'm a fan of an NFL team and they took Sam Levitt, I'm probably going to be pretty disappointed.
More disappointed than if your team took over Sam Levitt or Tyler Shuck.
you take who, Conrad?
I'd take Dak Prescott over Sam Levitt, and that's saying something for me.
I was really bummed we didn't get the Cowboys drafting Shadur and putting Conrad into this like chokehold of misery.
It would have been. I was hoping it would have happened round 4. So okay, let's go tier. So we talked about Zane Flores. We've got pretty much Connor Wegman, Nico Marchiol, Zane Flores is our tier 4. Where I'm disagreeing is you guys have Jake Retzlaff at 12, which would be a tier 4 quarterback in the conference. Maybe it's just that I'm kind of like They went 10-2 last year. I know it wasn't all Jake, but I'm not sure if I'm buying Jake Retzlaff as the 12th best quarterback in the conference.
Dude, I'm just not a Jake Retzlaff guy. As far as the guys that have returning production and experience that are coming back, like he doesn't rank highly in really anything there. I mean, it's all very decent, and then when you compare it to the advanced analytic grades, it comes out pretty badly. He's just really turnover prone. He's not very big, doesn't have a huge arm. He can make some of those throws, but it's just not a guy that I think can really elevate his game beyond what you saw last year. I'd love to be proven wrong there, but Retzlaff's just not a guy that really shows me, yeah, this is a top flight quarterback that can elevate his team into a championship. Granted, they won 10 games last year, but I just don't buy it.
He didn't even have a completion percentage over 60. And that's concerning.
That's a great point.
That's concerning. There's another player with the last name Becht with the first name Rocco. We're going to talk about it here in a little bit. That also did not have a completion percentage over 60, and he's higher on some of y'all's lists. So, and mine as well. So I think that's something to be noteworthy of as well.
Yeah, good point. Keep an eye out for that. So I do think. What about? Okay, so we've looked at Tavon Jackson's hair, but like, are we going to say that he is now a tier 3 quarterback, or like, are we going to bring this kid into the tier 4 instead of Jake? We're all pretty solid that Jake is a tier 4 quarterback in the conference. They're sitting at 12.
I think that's tier 3 for me. He's tier 3.
Yeah, that's tier. Yeah, same. He's at the bottom of tier 3.
Yeah, he's in that tier 3.
I had Jackson on 4.
You had Jackson on 4. Okay.
Yeah, I put Jackson in the 4th.
You're right. My math is off. 12 would be tier 3. I'm an idiot. 13,
and yeah,
14, 15,
if you wanted to talk about like Nico, I actually don't hate Nico at West Virginia that much. It's just unproven, and I don't love the talent. Like, you didn't beat out Garrett Green, and I know I don't know. Just
and what's he gonna do in Rich Rod's offense too? You just don't know.
Yeah, I think he's got a higher ceiling than, let's say, like Flores or even Weigman, but I think the floor could be pretty poor as well.
Yeah, I agree. Okay. Yeah. This name in tier 3 specifically, this is funny to me because Noah Fafita was arguably the most hyped quarterback in 2024 in the conference, going in minus Shedeur Sanders. And now he had a horrible year last year with a top 10 draft pick on his receiving core. And now we have him as a tier 3 quarterback coming back under Brent Brennan's offense in 2025. What's going on with Noah Fafita? Is the dude just bad? Like, why was the year in 2023 even, like, where was the hype even coming from? We saw him against Tech last year. Dude looked awful.
Yeah, well, it's because he played in the Pac-12 and had Tedero McMillan. So that's why.
Their offensive coordinator situation last year was like truly mind-blowing. Do y'all remember that press conference where they're like, yes, we brought in Dino Babers, but the goal was always for him to transition play calling at the middle of the season? It's like, no, it wasn't. That was not the plan. Why are you saying that?
Yeah, like they had top 10 offense. You're going to transition out in the middle of the year.
Yeah, like what? And then we said this. Me and Clayton said this when Brent Brennan was hired, and he said, "Hey, we're just kind of going to run the same stuff that they ran last year. Why change it?" It's like, it doesn't just work like that. You don't just run the touchdown play. You know, that's not a play call. You don't just run the good offense. I was always concerned. I think his stuff was way more schematic than it was talent based. He's shown that he can do it at this level. I think he was force feeding Tet. I think he can actually be pretty good this year, like top 8, maybe top 6 in the conference. I think he's just held back a little bit. His line is going to be terrible this year. That's going to hold him back more than anything. But Seth Dagey should be a big improvement at the offensive coordinator position. He's just small. And I think you've seen a really good year and you've seen a really terrible year. Which one was the abnormality? We'll probably know at the end of 2025.
Yeah, so when you're looking at what we've got kind of universally here, you've got Fafita, Caden Salter, Tavon Jackson, and Clay. You've got and then Brendan Sorsby is kind of hovering in that 8-9 line. Sorsby, I remember last year you were kind of high on Sorsby. And this is kind of that tier. This is where it gets kind of murky. Like, as you get from 12 to 9, 12 to 8. There's really not that big a difference here between these 4 guys.
Yeah, Sorsby was 8th in the conference in passer efficiency rating. He was 10th in passing yards per attempt, adjusting passing yards per attempt. He was 9th total passing yards. He was 9th. He's like very much probably firmly entrenched as a top 10 quarterback, trying to find something that places him higher than that. I mean, he was 64th, his 64% completion percentage, which is good for 3rd in the conference. and that's second coming back. Like he's got some stuff that works, and he's a good runner. I think Sorsby's good. Like Sorsby is pretty much that line for me where I go, these are like not as good quarterbacks. Where I think Sorsby's definitively a good quarterback. Can he take that next step to great? I think would go a long way in elevating this Cincinnati offense. And he's younger. He's not. I think this is his redshirt junior year, if I remember correctly. So he's got. It's not like he's an old guy. So I like Sorsby. He's still somebody that I believe in.
Clay, Jalen Daniels, question of the year right here. Tier 2 or tier 3?
Oh, he's easily tier 3 in my opinion.
I knew
if you objectively evaluate his year last year, I mean, he threw 12 touchdowns and 12 picks, and I think he had another 5 fumbles. He had almost as many games with multiple picks as he did with games with 0 picks. Like he was legitimately terrible.
And this is this is another guy that was kind of getting even Heisman hype going.
Yeah, he got Heisman hype.
Heisman type odd hype going into 2024.
Yeah, I don't know how this. I don't really know. I'm not familiar with their receiver depth chart, but
it's going to be way worse than last year.
Then yeah, I'm interested to see how that goes.
So where would you guys think? On Jalen Daniels? So for me, I have Jalen ranked 8th. Where do y'all have him?
I have
Conrad. I know you have him 7th.
I put him 7th, but I mean that's something that.
Oh, I put him at 9.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
but I mean, maybe it's just the athleticism and the age and the experience that for me could get him up a little bit higher. I mean, I understand. I'm trying to. The way I rank these guys is not only what they did last year, but how could they potentially improve this year?
That's a good point.
And so with Jaden, I was like, well, he had some good games towards the end of the year because we were always joking, right? Which Jaden Daniels are you getting? Are you getting the beginning of the season, or are you getting the late end of the season? I get it. He had some good games on both sides of the season, but at the same time, he is athletic, and in college, when you are as athletic as he is, he could potentially have a better year this year, even with the receiving depth being worse because of the experience and just the time he's played. So I could very well be wrong on that. I actually hope I am, but that's just how I saw it playing out.
Well, and Conrad, I think it's justifiable because it's like if you put Jalen at, where do you have him? You have him right at 7th. It's like, who are the guys that you would put ahead of him? Even if you don't like Jalen, it's like, do you put Salter or Retzlaff or Jackson or Connor Week or Markiel Zane? Like, who's going in front of him to where he can fall further down the list? I think that goes to what Clayton said. Like, it's not mediocre, but it's like, how do you place some of these guys above Jalen Daniels? Where it's like, you've at least seen Jalen be okay. You haven't seen that with a ton of these guys.
Yeah, and he's obviously got great athleticism, probably the most athletic quarterback in the conference. I mean, when you're looking at, and so but to Clayton's point, I mean, 12 to a 1-to-1 ratio, touchdown interception, and the year they had last year, it was awful. So he's always kind of got the name. It's like that one game against Arkansas in the bowl game from 2 years ago has elevated him above whatever is out there. It's like, oh, Jalen Daniels did this. He has this potential. We'll see in 2025, and you get them. Texas Tech gets them next year too. So that'll be interesting as well. Okay. So
Brennan, before you go into the next one, talk through who our bottom 8 is. So 16 through 9, just so everybody kind of has an idea of who we still have left to discuss and who's already down there.
So we're looking at Connor Wegman, at Nico Markiel, Zane Flores, Jake Retzlaff, Noah Fafita, Caden Salter, and Tavon Jackson is kind of our 16 to 9 guys. And so, am I missing anybody? Maybe did I say
the wrong? You did the wrong order. So it's Flores, Markiel, Wegman, Jackson, Retzlaff, Fafita, Salter, and then Sorsby.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's talk Salter and Wegman just a little bit, so they at least get some time. I mean, I think there's a world where
played at Liberty.
Yeah. So did Malik Willis.
Yeah, and he had one good year. And where is he now?
That's a ding on Malik Willis.
Come on.
Salter's also taken Shador's spot. So Conrad, it's an automatic hate zone for Conrad.
I wonder if him and Dion are going to walk down the sideline holding hands.
I bet his number will get retired next year if he throws for 40 touchdowns and they go 9-3.
That's probably true. Yeah, I mean that is the standard nowadays in Colorado. Hang the banner, baby.
A world. I know we love to rag on Colorado, but there's a world where Salter is a good quarterback for this system. Like, I don't know. once again, this is the Big 12 thing where it's like, how good would you have to be to like rapidly move up into the top 6 or the top 8? And I don't think you have to be that great to be a top 8 quarterback in this conference. You have to be good, but it's like it's just not a huge bar to clear to be in the top 10 in this conference. And I think Caden could pretty easily do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I could do that.
I think you could too. And it'll be interesting to see, like, the guys that are being replaced, Shedeur Sanders, that's a huge loss for Colorado. And so he is filling big shoes, whether it turns out to be the case for Shedeur long term in the NFL. Like, what he did in Colorado was great last year, obviously winning the Johnny Unitas Award, being the best quarterback in the Big 12. So we'll see where Salter falls. Z, your other Connor Wegman, I mean, we've kind of made fun of him here a little bit on this podcast going to Houston. Just don't expect a whole lot out of Houston. So I can't really imagine that Connor would really elevate them based off their talent around him, where he would like take them from 4.5, 5 wins to 8 wins. Like, I just don't think he's got that ability to do that. He never really was able to fulfill his talent to A&M either.
He was also hurt.
I can, like, and part of me on these rankings, and I know I have him 15th, but it's like, can you see the path for this guy being good? Like, some of these guys, Zane Flores and that offense and what's going to happen on the offensive line, can I see him leading his team to like an 8-win season? It's like, that's kind of hard to envision. Can I see Connor Weigman being like actually a good quarterback? I think I can envision that world where it's like, oh yeah, he's actually athletic enough to outrun Big 12 defenses. His arm's got enough talent. Maybe he can scamper around and be he rushes for 600 yards and throws for 2,600. And like, I can envision that world where he's dynamic enough against the bad defenses in the Big 12 to where he looks like a competent quarterback. So I can see the upside. I think the floor is also pretty low because you've seen him be pretty bad.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I can just see the path for him a little bit easier. Like, if you had to tell me which quarterback I'd rather take a gamble on, Jake Retzlaff or Connor Weigman, I think I'd take Connor Weigman if I was like, hey, I have to choose a QB to somehow like elevate my team because we're not very good. I would rather take a shot on Weigman than take a shot on Retzlaff. I don't think he can elevate a team. I think Weigman at least has that potential. That's a spicy take though. Somebody has to discuss that.
I don't know. Like, the Jake slander. I mean, I get it that he's not that great, but like, to go 10-2, like, they were a game away from probably making the playoff, and like, you can't do that with like a bad quarterback. Like, was Jake like bad?
No, he wasn't bad, and that's like like, I feel like you had a lot of really not, like, you had Chase Roberts, you had Darius Lassiter, you had all these good offensive linemen, you had LJ Martin, you had a really good defense. Like, you had all of these things that worked in Retzlaff's favor, and I don't want to rag on him too much, but like, okay, so if you switch spots, like if Connor Weigman's on BYU and Jake Retzlaff's on Houston, do your rankings of those quarterbacks as individuals change?
Yes.
I think absolutely. Both teams would be worse in that scenario, in my opinion.
Totally, but
that's why they're in the bottom. That's why we have.
I would have BYU. I know BYU lost a lot, but BYU's definitely better program than Houston, so I'd have BYU. I'd have Weigman higher than I have Retzlaff right now.
If Weigman was on BYU,
yeah. If Weigman was the quarterback of BYU, I would have Weigman higher than I have Retzlaff. So I'd probably have Weigman at probably 9 if he was playing for BYU.
On the advanced analytics, they're really like Retzlaff's higher, but it's not like that much higher. Like, it's noticeable. It's a gap. It's not like you're splitting hairs, but it's not like, I think Retzlaff's like grades out on some of the ones. Like, if you took it on a scale of 1 to 20, he's like a 13.2 and Weigman's like a 12.5 or something like that. Like, it's not that big of a difference. And I think I'd rather, because Retzlaff's been in college forever too. Like, he's older, and I'll take the shot on the young guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, but that's just me. That's not
fair.
That's not how every
time
team
on the bottom of the conference.
Okay, so here's what I want to do. Good transition, Conrad. And if you're still listening at this point, please again like this video, subscribe to the channel so you never miss an episode, whether YouTube, Spotify, or Apple. I want us to go now, instead of going like 8 to 4, I want to go from each of you guys go 1 through 5, because this is where it's going to get different, and this is where the debate and the arguments are going to start happening. And Conrad, you go first. So go 1 through 8. Or what are we at? Yeah. Go ahead and just say your top 8. And then Clay, you and Zyler go. And this is where we will then have the debate.
Yeah. So I've got Sam Leavitt, Arizona State #1. He had a great year last year. Obviously, Scadaboo's not back, but I think you can't Can't discount what he did last year. More experience, older, same coach, same scheme. I think he's going to be good again this year. I have Avery Johnson at 2, which is a little bit different than what my narrative has been on the podcast, just because I think Avery still has talent. I think he still has potential. I think his second year as a full-time starter, he'll get better doing that. And so he'll be a better quarterback, lead the team to, I would think they'd win maybe more than they did last year. But then again, you never know, because Avery could be a rocket ship or he could be a dud. You never know. I've got Sawyer Robertson at 3 for Baylor, from Baylor, a Lubbock kid, number 3. And then I have BEHREN MORTON at number 4, Texas Tech's very own quarterback. I've got Josh Hoover from TCU at number 5, Rocco Becht at number 6, even though he has a sub 60% completion percentage. I have Jalen Daniels at 7, and then Sorsby at 8. So that's my top 8.
Okay, so BEHREN MORTON falls at 4 for Conrad. Z, you go.
Okay, so it's similar to Conrad in a lot of areas. I have Levitt number 1. The more I think about this, the less likely I think that he is the best quarterback in the conference, but I think you just have to have him here.
Yeah.
I have Sawyer Robertson. Him and Sam are like very clearly the top 2 in my mind. I have Rocco Becht at 3rd, and then I have Devin Dampier at Utah at 4th. I have Josh Hoover at 5th, Avery Johnson 6th, and BEHREN MORTON at 7th. And then I have Jalen Daniels at 8th. So those are my top 8.
Okay, so Zyler's got BEHREN at 7. Clay, where does BEHREN MORTON fall on your list in the quarterback rankings?
I've got Sawyer at number 1, actually. I just don't think that Sam Levitt is the best QB, and I don't think that Sawyer had as many things working for him last year as Levitt did. So that's why I had him above.
Yep.
And then I got Becht at 3, Avery Johnson 4. That's like where I have my tier break. And then Hoover at 5, BEHREN MORTON at 6, Dampier at 7, and Sorsby at 8.
Okay, so when we're going off our tier ranking, like we discussed, Clay and Zyler, you guys have BEHREN very comfortably in tier 2. Conrad, you've got him sneaking into tier 1. Why tier 1 for BEHREN?
I think you have to, again, like I mentioned earlier, I'm ranking not only what they did last year, but what I think they're going to do this year. BEHREN has fought through so much throughout his entire career at Texas Tech. He's on paper got the best offensive line he's ever had here. He's got talent at the tight end position, at the running back position, with 3-headed monster around him, and the rest of those receivers that we've mentioned. Although they're not healthy right now, hopefully they will be by the time the season starts. And so I believe in BEHREN's talent. If you guys saw, which I know you did because I sent it to you, the video of BEHREN throwing on the practice facility on earlier this week. Arm looks good. He's going to be ready. And so I believe in BEHREN's talent. I believe in who he is. I believe the fact that he's a senior this year, a redshirt senior, I believe. Maybe I'm wrong there. Yeah, I think it's redshirt senior. He's going to have his best year. I think he, in my mind, he could very well jump Sawyer, Avery, and Levitt at the end of the year if he has the year we think he can have, that I believe he can have. So I know we have some haters on the pod, but that's okay. I'm a believer. So BEHREN for me he's got all the talent in the world, best offensive line he's had. And I want to take into consideration, because I know our listeners and the people in the comments are going to say, well, BEHREN, he didn't do this or he didn't do that, or he had that bad play or this bad play. Again, our offensive line last year was one of the worst in the Big 12 by far. It was not adequate for him. And the fact that he still threw for 3,300 yards, 27 touchdowns, 8 interceptions with that offensive line around him, letting almost seemingly everyone come in. And the fact that he started all 12 games for us, I just think that plays a big part for me. And so obviously I'm biased because I'm a Red Raider, but at the same time, I think BEHREN has all the talent in the world to really be the best quarterback in the conference, even though I have him at 4. So I'm a big believer in BEHREN MORTON, unlike other people on this podcast.
Z, or real quick, before you go, Z, what I was going to say was, what we talked about at the beginning still holds true to Conrad's argument that this is an average quarterback room. So BEHREN could go have a great year and jump. I mean, we're talking about Sam Levitt, who we had all called stinky at some point last year. Sawyer Robertson, who we weren't paying attention to until he cooked us in Lubbock. And Rocco Becht, who BEHREN MORTON did beat on the road last year. So you are looking at guys ahead that, like, okay, if Conrad is right, BEHREN could have that type of year. But coming into 2025 with his shoulder surgery, I know we've talked about it. Why is BEHREN tier 2 for you? And then Clay, you go to double down on that as well.
Yeah. Okay. So here's the things. I like Barron. I really do. The more I've thought about it this offseason, the more I've been like, yeah, this is the guy that should lead you this year. Here's the things that I think are working against Barron having a top 4, top 5 season in the conference. 1, he missed all of spring ball. 2, they're installing a brand new offense. 3, brand new receivers that he has not thrown to really at all in his entire career. It's Coy Aiken coming back, Caleb Douglas. They have not installed anything live in this new offense. 4, it's a brand new offensive line. They've got almost no chemistry. They've played this group that when that starting 5 rolls out, they will have a combined 0 snaps played together. It's going to be a brand new room. 5, Taj Brooks is not going to be there, who very clearly, we saw how good Barron did without Taj in the Washington State game. That should be a big red flag. Those are the reasons that I'm like, I don't think all of those things are going to be issues, but I don't think there's any way that none of those end up being issues for Barron. And that's not a knock on Barron. Those are just things kind of out of his control that are working against him. I believe in the talent, but those are the things that I have working against him.
Clay, that's all fair. Again, like those things are all true. So you've got what Conrad said, the potential of Barron coming off a good year last year with a bad O-line, but then you've got everything Z said in those 5 reasons, and he's right. I mean, with Barron without a security blanket against and then getting outplayed against Asoy Robertson, there's reasons you have him at 6 and 7.
Yeah,
it's
I guess to play right. To play devil's advocate, I do think like there is a world, like Conrad said, where he's in the top 4, and some of the reasons that could be is like, maybe losing Taj for the game whenever your entire game plan is centered around him for the season is tough. But if you take him away and like, okay, now we're going to be a more passing centered offense, which I'm not saying that's going to be what we are, but I don't know, does that elevate him? Also, he really hasn't been healthy at all for his entire college career, so if he actually is healthy this year, that's another thing working for him. If the system is just better, because I do feel like he was kind of a weird fit for Kitley's system. I don't know, maybe that's just an excuse, but I never thought that was like a super seamless fit between him and our offensive system.
Well, and that was Conrad, like last year, like every reaction episode we had, we were like, is it Kitley? Is it Barron? Is it the O-line? Is it Kitley? Is it Barron? Is it the O-line? Like it was like this love triangle between, to Clayton's point, was it Zach Kitley or was it Barron Morton? New offensive coordinator, new system, no Taj Brooks. No concern for you there?
I want to go back to one thing Zyler said. He mentioned the entirely new O-line. That is a fact. I'm not going to dispute that. But if there's a world in which this offensive line this year is worse than last year, the conversation is not going to be about Barron Morton at the end of the year. The conversation is going to be about a whole lot of different things. It's going to be, why did we lose 5 games? Why did we lose 6 games? It's not going to be about, is Barron Morton good or is he not? It's going to be like, why did this season fail dramatically? Because that offensive line last year, the more I've gone back and looked at it and watched things and thought about things, Taj Brooks he should have been drafted way higher than he was, because he played behind an atrocious offensive line. I mean, they were not good. They had their moments, but speaking to Barron again, I do think that this year with an improved offensive line, even with all those things, I do think Barron can be a guy that does catapult himself into the top 4. I've already got him there, but then again, if you do have the year that he can have, I don't know that necessarily the offense is what scares me. Leftwich's scheme seems like it's a pretty quarterback friendly scheme with what the kid did at Texas State last year, and all the experience that Barron has had. I mean, over his years at Texas Tech, I can't think of anything that would help him more than that. I mean, that just has a big part in who he is as a player and what he's developed into and what he's going to continue to develop into, because he's got 12 more games, assuming he stays healthy for all of them. So I think Barron, I don't know if it's Kitley, Barron, offensive line. I mean, I think it was predominantly offensive line. Kitley's a great coach. But then again, I'm not going to sit here and say that Barron was perfect last year. He definitely had some moments that I was like, dude, I don't understand that throw. The pick against Colorado, I was like, what's going on there? I mean, there were a couple other interceptions I thought, I don't see that, what's happening there, but I still think he's got all the talent in the world and the capability to be the top quarterback in the Big 12 this year.
Z, what's putting Becht, Hoover, Dampier on your list? Some of these guys, Sawyer and Avery, like where are they? Where are they above Barron? Like why is Barron 7? Like why the 6 in front? What does he not have that those 6 have?
So I think Conrad has a case, and I think anybody has a case putting Barron above who's the guy? Devin obviously hasn't played at Utah. I love Devin Dampier. That's the spiciest take that I have, him being a top 4 quarterback. I love the dual threat ability. I love the playmaking ability. If you haven't watched Devin Dampier at New Mexico, go take a look. Electric player. That one could very easily flame out. It won't shock me if he's a bottom 4 quarterback in the conference either. I just love the upside. I've seen him be electric. I've seen that system work really, really well. The ones that I don't know that are as defensible, I don't know how you put Josh Hoover below Barron. I know Hoover had more turnovers, but the yards per completion, the passer rating, all of those things. I think Hoover, I mean, maybe you can talk about potential and Barron not being healthy and Barron having a bad line. Those are a little bit trickier.
At TCU.
Yeah, I like Barron more than Hoover, but as a person, and then the final one, this one's the most irrational outside of maybe Devin. I just think Rocco Becht is such a gamer. Like he just does. I love the way that he plays the game. There's really not a statistical yeah, dude, I think he's better in his whatever stats that you want to throw out there. I just love the way Rocco plays. He gets rushing first downs. He makes tough throws. He passes the eye test to me more than anybody. Mm-hmm. He does have an uphill battle to climb, though. That offensive line is not good, and he lost 2 third-round NFL receivers. So,
Zyler, did you just switch your approach from analytics to eye test?
It's not a consistent system. It's
okay.
You
choose what fits your narrative, right?
I'm an only eye test guy. That's why I'm a big Rocco guy. Z, so welcome to the dark side.
I am. I really like, and his adjusting passing yards per. So if you want to make a statistical case, you can. His adjusted passing yards per attempt are higher than Barron's. His passing yards per attempt are higher than Barron's. His passer efficiency rating is pretty identical. He just doesn't get the work that Barron did, but some of the advanced stuff is better than Barron's.
Okay, so here's my thing with BEHREN MORTON. When I think of the games last year that mattered the most, TCU, he gets hurt, so that I will give him a pass there. Baylor, he sucked. Okay, Colorado, he sucked. Washington State, he sucked. And I'm just thinking, even the game, Iowa State,
even the second half of Iowa State,
average. I know you had the game-winning drive, but let's not pretend. So take away.
Don't you can't. That's subjective reasoning when you take out the game-winning drive. That's so bad. That's so bad. Come on, you're better.
The whole body of work.
The whole body of work. I'm going whole body of work. So for me, you take away the Abilene Christian stats and the Oklahoma State stats.
You don't take away the Abilene Christian stats because we don't win that game without BEHREN MORTON.
I'm with Conrad on that one.
That's bad.
It's not like he was running up the score. We literally needed every single game.
I mean, you needed it. Okay, fine. Fine.
You're better than this.
So we're leaving the FCS stats.
Yeah. We'll leave. Thank you, Zyler. We'll leave the FCS team that you had to score 50. And I get Barron had to do that, but I just didn't.
But even in the second half of that game, we got stopped a bunch of times.
We did.
Yeah. Okay. We did. So I guess what I'm getting at here, and I'm not trying to say BEHREN MORTON is not a good quarterback, but when I think back to last year and I think back to some of the biggest moments, I don't, outside of Iowa State, I have a hard time in a couple throws against Arizona. I'll give him credit. He made a couple big time throws against Arizona, but that was again a defensive type game. To me, it just never felt like he seized the moment often, where in a lot of these quarterbacks didn't. So I'm not saying that all these other guys, Avery Johnson, didn't do that very often. Sawyer Robertson did it some, but it's not like the other guys did it. But I just didn't see enough out of Barron to justify giving him going into a season tier 1 status. And everything we've talked about, Z, to your points, which I completely agree with, just jumping him into that. To me, he still has a lot to prove. I don't think we should just be crowning Barron yet as this, he's one of the top quarterbacks in the conference. You're going to be good to go. That's why I said my biggest question mark on this team outside of O-line is quarterback. I got to see it. I want to see it. I'm not going to hand it to him.
I agree with that. And I think there's definitely a world where he's a tier 1 quarterback next year, but in my opinion, there are guys who just deserve to be above him. And if we put labels on the tiers, if tier 1 is guys who can carry you through the season, tier 2 is guys that you can win with. You can win because of them, but they're not going to carry you. Tier 3 is you can win despite them. Tier 4 is just trash. Totally. I think he's definitely in tier 2.
Yeah,
100%.
I don't think Tech won despite Barron last year, but he also didn't carry us. So he's easily in QBs that you can win a good amount of games with.
This is and I said this last year, and it's the perfect NFL comp for BEHREN MORTON is none other than Dak Prescott. He is the Dak Prescott of Big 12 quarterbacks. Like very clearly, that's what he is.
You're gonna.
I mean, who's the better
Conrad?
NFL comp?
He's trying. Conrad.
Who's the better NFL comp? Who is BEHREN MORTON in the NFL?
Conrad.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Josh Allen.
I knew you were gonna say
Josh Allen.
I knew you were gonna say.
I said that for Brennan because Brennan absolutely loves Josh Allen.
I knew you were gonna say Josh Allen.
Let me so much better than so many of the quarterbacks in this league, but like still working to break through into that like top tier. And you think he has the talent, and he shows it sometimes, but and then in big moments, you're like, dude, what in the world was that?
So let me play something out. Let's jump into our time machine here at the Broadway Shuffle because we do have one of those. And let's fast forward to September 13th, 2025. Oregon State is coming into the Jones.
Oh,
BEHREN,
what did BEHREN do against Arkansas Pine Bluff?
And well, we're 2-0 at this point. So and he's got 8 touchdowns, 0 picks. So at this point, we're playing Oregon State, and BEHREN MORTON gets hurt at the end of the first quarter. He's earned a touchdown. He's got a 65% completion percentage at the end of the first quarter. Will Hammond comes in. BEHREN's shoulder's done for the season, we find out after the game. We lose that game. Will Hammond's average.
We
and
lose
Will
to
Hammond
Oregon
goes
State?
to throw. Yeah. This is a scenario. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I hope this doesn't happen, actually. And Will is just average, and we go on to lose 4 games this year. Because he's a redshirt freshman, and I know unproven talent is very attractive to Tech fans, specifically 3 on this podcast. But we'll say that he goes on to be average, and we lose 4 games. At that point, what are y'all going to be saying about BEHREN MORTON?
I'll be saying that the redshirt freshman had the exact same season that BEHREN MORTON had as a redshirt junior.
Like Conrad, and here's
I don't
the
think
thing.
that would
But
be
that's
fair.
the
I don't
thing.
think
It's
that
like
would- no.
so to you, based off that, you think BEHREN MORTON is worth 10, 11 wins next year. Like he's the reason you.
I think BEHREN MORTON with this team is worth 10, 11 wins because I know what I'm getting with BEHREN MORTON. I know for a fact what I'm getting with BEHREN MORTON with a better offensive line, who's healthy, who's got 4 years of experience. I know what I'm getting with BEHREN MORTON. I have no clue what I'm getting with Will Hammond. I'm not saying even
BEHREN should be the starter.
BEHREN should be the starter.
Yeah,
I'm saying
But you put BEHREN on the field with these players with the short fields he's probably going to get because of the defensive front being as good as they are. I think you're going to see an explosive year from him just because of all the other talent around him. And it's a team sport, right? I mean, we forget all the time. We talk about quarterbacks and we think, oh, well, this guy's amazing. This guy's, not very good. Well, it's a team sport, right? The offensive line plays a big portion of this. Running back, receiver, tight end, all the talent around him with the experience he's had. I don't see a world in which he doesn't rise to the top and rise to the occasion and lead us to 10, 11 wins this year because of all those other factors involved.
And I guess my point is like we just haven't seen that. Like we
haven't had this type of talent. Our roster has been not good at all.
Conrad, do you think our pass catchers are better this year or last year?
Well, I mean, you do have a 5-star plus receiver that is going to take the league by storm. It's
just
hard
receivers.
because Kelly, not tight end.
Yeah, not tight end. We'll talk about tight end after this.
No, because Kelly. I mean, Kelly was just so dominant. Kelly was so dominant. I don't know that you can say that.
You replace Kelly with Virgil, but you also get an older Coy Aiken. You get an older Caleb Douglas. You get the Roy, whatever the FCS kid is. You get some of your younger guys are a bit older. But I'd say maybe
you
could
put
say
Terrence Carter into that.
So,
you put
the tight end room. You take out Mason Tharp and you take out Jalen Conyers and you add Terrence Carter. Is that a better tight end room or worse?
It's better because it's more athletic. And so from a pass catching perspective, I think you've got more explosiveness from the tight end room than you did last year.
Running back room, better or worse?
Top to bottom, I think it's better. Even with Taj being gone, I think a Dickey in year 2, a Jacoby in year 2, and then a Quentin Joyner who's been a really solid player at USC. I think top to bottom, it's better. I really do. That's no disrespect to Taj and what he was able to do here at Texas Tech. I just think you've got more depth and you've got more bodies. And because of that, you're going to have a better team and a better offensive scheme, hopefully, and success altogether.
Would y'all agree that the running back room is better or worse next year?
I would not agree.
I think it's worse.
I think it's close. I think
it's more explosive.
more explosive, more home run ability. But You can't center your offense around these running backs.
Yeah, we saw the value of Taj last year. Like when you needed him, it was like he was your security blanket. That was your point. I mean, to the Washington State game, like when Taj wasn't on the field, you were a worse team.
You almost had to force feed him though, because you were so bad at pass protecting. You really didn't have any other choice.
So if our offense was bad when we didn't force feed Taj, what does that say about the other elements of our offense?
I mean, if are we talking about this year or last year? Are we talking about what it projects to be, or are we talking about what it was?
It's good. I get what you're saying, Z.
I have a hard time saying that if this offensive line, it all comes down to the trenches, right? If your offensive line is worse than last year,
look. I mean, if that's the situation here, you're screwed.
You're dead in the water.
You're dead in the water. Like you just
we're finishing 9th in the Big 12.
There's nothing.
Not even close.
Yeah, it's like the defense. The defense. I don't know. The defense is gonna be pretty good.
The defense is going to be unequivocally better.
The field position thing is also a good point, because we lost the field position battle in almost every single game, which was not all the defense's fault. It was
insane.
Too. But
Anyway,
okay.
So like we got to get back to the rankings though at some point though.
Yeah, I'm getting that, because what I was gonna say is like we talk about Avery Johnson, Sam, but sorry, one more point. When we looked at last year, Sam Leavitt, Sawyer Robertson, Josh Hoover, and Avery Johnson, those four. Let's just take those four. No one going into last year thought these are the best four quarterbacks in the Big 12. Am I right in saying that? The one guy,
Avery Johnson, I feel like
Avery Johnson was getting hype, right?
It was Avery, Jalen, Shador, and probably Cam Rising. Maybe Fafita.
And Fafita, right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we're looking at like where we are at, I know that you've got Rocco Beck there in tier 1, then Josh Hoover, you have and Devin Dampier, and there's some guys kind of there. It's like there's not much separating these guys. Like Beckton and Leavitt were in the Big 12 championship game last year. They did lead their teams to 10-win seasons. Leavitt competed his butt off against Texas in a quarterfinal playoff game. So I think that elevates him to be the projected number 1 in the Big 12. But again, back to Barron, it's like there's not a whole lot of separation there between 7 and 1. Like Sawyer Robertson, we had the debate just a couple weeks ago on the show. Would you take Sawyer or Barron? And it was a good debate. And here we are. Sawyer Robertson's like clearly a tier 1 quarterback in the conference. I don't think anyone thought that'd be the case a couple of years ago, or he'd probably be a Red Raider.
Even Baylor didn't think that was the case.
Yeah, he wasn't even
their
to start the year.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. Daquan Finn.
I will say one thing. I think I would change my ranking. I think I would have Barron 6. Any argument that you make for Avery Johnson, you can turn around and make the exact same argument for Barron, and he had the better season. Like I don't.
Yeah.
Like it's like, oh, dude, but the potential. It's like, oh, dude, Barron was super highly rated recruit. He's mobile. He can throw it. He's got a better arm than Avery Johnson. Like he's more accurate. Like you can make all of those cases. So I think if I had to redo this, I would have Barron 6.
Well, and how'd that turn out for K-State? You're looking at last year. They dropped Will Howard, who goes to Ohio State, wins a title, gets drafted. They have Avery. He's very mid. And the one game against Texas Tech and Kansas State was like, we've seen all we need to see. Bye, Will. We're going to take Avery Johnson. It's like in college, it's kind of funny. Like one game, like, whoa, like that was like Sawyer Robertson in Lubbock. It kind of like elevated him to a level. It's like, this guy's going off. We kind of take one game, like literally we did this for BEHREN MORTON. The first half against Oklahoma State, I did this for BEHREN MORTON.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Thank you for your transparency and honesty, Brennan.
I was like, I've seen all I need to see.
And didn't you do that for another Tech quarterback last year? Didn't you do it for another Tech quarterback?
Dude, Will's half against TCU was unreal.
Yeah, like
I'm not saying it. I'm not saying it.
Barron's
against thank you, Clayton.
Yeah. I'm just saying.
I'm keeping myself accountable here. Like I remember Conrad, we were playing golf together this day. We had it on the golf cart. And I'm like,
I know we did.
This kid's going off. Like this kid, you were like, he looks like Johnny Manziel. But I'd still argue that was one of the top 8 halves Barron's had in the last 3 years. Like that was some of the best football.
To be fair,
that probably was the best.
Yeah, like that.
To be fair, that half would have been the best half most college quarterbacks, unless you're a legend, ever have in college.
Yeah, so it was unreal.
I mean,
well, yeah, and he just played with his. To me, he just played with his gunslinger mentality, and I'm not.
But that's the last time he's been healthy. That's the last time he's been fully healthy.
Fair.
Yeah, and that's a totally fair case. But dude, the other thing, and we got to get back to the other stuff, but how long can a player thrive on like, dude, here's what he could be? You know, it's the last year it's got to eventually materialize into something excellent, or I think we'll all look back on his career and think, what a potentially wasted opportunity.
Yeah, and that's what I'm nervous about. I am nervous about that this year because you spent so much money in the portal. You have the #1 class in the country, and here we are, May doing quarterback rankings, and it's like we've got 3 months till the season, and we're hoping that BEHREN MORTON isn't the reason you don't win 10 games. Like we're not extremely confident that
I'm extremely confident if he stays healthy, he will not be the reason you don't win 10 games. It will be the offensive line. It will be it will without a question be the offensive line.
Okay.
Like the most important position on this team is offensive line by far.
Or the receivers.
Okay, let me ask this question. How many games, over under 3 games until there is a debate on if you should fire Mac Leftwich or start Will Hammond?
Oh, over under 3 drives. It'll be first half of the game. First half of the first game. I guarantee it.
When's it going to start coming, Conrad? I think Z's probably right. It's probably closer to 3 drives in 3 games.
If we're having that conversation 3 drives in, I know it's a long way to go at that point.
We're not
all this money that was
we won't have that. We won't have that.
Okay.
There are people that believe you should never ever have to punt if you have a good offensive coordinator. Like that just should never happen. Otherwise,
we don't know any of these people, do we?
No, I'm not.
They
talking
do
about
sit in Jones AT&T Stadium though every Saturday.
It blows my mind how many people will, crucify an offensive coordinator for a 3rd down and 7 play call that doesn't work. It's like the odds of converting them.
Very few fan bases who like their offensive coordinator in college.
I'm trying to think of a fan base that likes their maybe Baylor in the Big 12. They probably like their OC.
Yeah, but that's an OC that's been fired 2 or 3 times before.
Exactly. Like it's anyway.
So
to the rankings though, I think debating number 1 is interesting. So I have Levitt, but I think I could be talked into Sawyer Robertson.
If I had to pick one for my team, I'd pick Sawyer over Levitt, to be honest.
Why? I think Sawyer's better.
Why
Sawyer was more the driver of their offense than Levitt was for Arizona State.
What do you think? Where do you think? How do y'all feel if Sawyer Robertson is your quarterback right now instead of BEHREN MORTON going into 2025?
You are going to Arlington.
Okay, so you're that much. So that's interesting because here I am saying there's not that much difference, and then here you're punching Sawyer's your quarterback. You're punching the ticket.
Well, it's just there's way less uncertainty. If you had Sawyer in what the season that he had, and that was the way that the offense ran last year. If you had Baylor's offensive unit right now, and you could just switch them, like it was a top 25 offense last year. That was a very good offense.
Yeah,
you would be.
What was ours last year?
If you're going on advanced analytics,
was
it's going to be
at something.
Yeah, I'm talking like total offense, like what the normal people look at.
Offense is a terrible metric. If you have a terrible defense, you're going to do great in total offense.
Conrad,
let's put that into perspective because we kind of did have a terrible defense last year.
That's true.
Yeah,
Conrad's been facts tonight. I was gonna say too, we were at the Big 12 championship game, and Scadaboo like literally just manhandled Iowa State, like physically. And I think seeing that live, like it was like, okay, this guy, kind of like how Todd took pressure off, like that dude was just taking pressure off Arizona State. Like he was dropping bodies, just and carrying them with him and going 40 yards after contact. So because of that, Clay, I think you're right. I think Sawyer was the driver of Baylor, where Levitt was more of a facilitator following Scadaboo. And I mean, even Scadaboo against the Texas game, like he was throwing tutties. Like the dude was doing it all, So I think that they utilized him more where Baylor was like reliant on Sawyer Robertson to carry them, which he did the last half of the season.
But you look at Levitt, it's like it was very rare that he ever threw the ball more than 20-ish times a game. Like you look at once they started conference play against Tech, when they lost, he threw 38 times. Against Kansas, 24 times, 18, 29, 25, 34, 25, 22, 17. And then against Texas, he threw it 46 times. Like when he has to throw the ball a lot, they typically lose. And that's like the biggest knock on Sam Levitt in my mind.
Yeah. And I mean, he was, Sawyer is obviously he had 153 rating, 15 behind Shador, but that's second in the conference. Levitt was 5th at 150. And then Conrad, but your BEHREN MORTON was there at 139. So just a little step below.
Let me say this for all the listeners out there, maybe the Sawyer Robertson fans. Baylor finished 20th in total offense. Texas Tech, we finished 9th. So
hold on. It's
Wow.
That is
I did not
11
know-
spots.
I really
that is
thought-
11 spots.
I did not know we
ahead
were in
for
the
the
top
math
10.
gurus out there.
I did not know you were 9th in total offense, but Z says that doesn't matter, so I'm just going to take what
That's
Z.
why all of the Zach Kittley stuff was so ridiculous. Like, if you're gonna fire
Makes
a
no
coordinator
sense.
who's top 10 in his side of the ball,
with a
who is gonna
horrible
sign up to
offensive
come
line.
coach there?
Yeah.
It's like if I can
Yeah.
get fired for being 9th in total offense.
That's
That's the problem with the Mike Leach aura. Like, I'm not saying Mike Leach, and even Cliff Kingsbury offensive prowess. I don't know how many years Cliff had over finished 9th. I mean, Tech fans just have such unrealistic expectations. They think top 5 offense looks like never punting, like Brennan alluded to earlier. It's like that's not what that looks like actually. And 9th in the country is pretty good. You're beating out a lot of other teams at 9.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, so Sawyer Levitt, that's kind of our 1-2. Real quick before we close, Josh Hoover. We haven't talked Josh Hoover at all. Like,
yeah, he deserves some love, I think.
better than Barron here on kind of, well, I mean, tier 2, but is he tier 2 or above Barron?
Yes, in my opinion.
The
In my
bias
mind,
for
yeah.
me will take Barron. So
Yeah, that's fair, Conrad.
He
He
was
At
just
least
so
say
far
tra-
above in the
full
passer efficiency
full
rating.
transparency.
he also had a way better offensive line than Barron did.
So it sounds like offensive line, Conrad, is your
He had better
biggest,
receivers.
is your biggest thing when it comes
And better
to
receiver.
quarterbacks.
Worst
He
running
did
game.
have
Worst
good
running game, though.
receivers. Yeah.
Worst running game. That's fair.
Their running
That's
game was
fair.
abysmal.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
But their pass protection was much.
Well-
I don't know what the stats are, but it was much. I know it was much better against in the game that I watched in person than what ours was.
Yeah. And one thing too that I think is really exciting about this upcoming football season is all of this. We could be totally wrong. Like some guy, like you said, Z, you would have thought that Levitt was bottom in the Big 12. He ends up at the top. Arizona State makes the playoff. So we could be talking about a Connor Wigman, a Zane Flores, like who knows? But we it is interesting here
Baron
sitting
Morton.
in May. Baron Morton, Conrad.
I promise we're going to talk about Baron Morton all year.
Yeah,
You
we'll have a
mark
lot
my
of Baron
words.
Morton. Like we've got 3 months and we've got a lot of summer camp and fall camp coming up to discuss this and see how these guys are progressing. But I think it's exciting to do it now just to get a feel for like what are we looking forward to? And it's just a big question mark. Like 1 through 16 is because where I'm sitting here going, I kind of like the gunslinger from BYU. You guys think he sucks. I'm kind of like hesitant to put Barron in tier 1. Conrad, thinks he's Josh Allen. So like there's just a lot of like variety here with this class, and I think it's exciting. So it'll be a lot of fun.
If I ever see an NFL draft commentary that says Baron Morton's a little bit like Josh Allen, I'm going to know that Conrad has infiltrated the NFL draft complex.
My influence is everywhere, Zyler.
Conrad can do a better. He can do a better job than Mel Kiper for sure.
The
question.
bar's not high there.
Final question here, though. Which quarterback on this ranking are you least confident in finishing in the spot that you've slotted in him? So you're like, yeah, I put them here, but I'm like, ugh. I have no idea whether it's going to go poorly or bad, or like really, really well.
Avery Johnson.
Mine is easily Devin Dampier. I have no idea.
That's mine.
I am
mine
not
too.
high on him at all. I don't know why y'all like him so much.
Dude,
I guess
he's
unproven talent.
He's like discount brand Kyler Murray, and you loved Kyler Murray.
Yeah, Kyler could throw. Devin's arm is not necessarily even close to what Kyler was.
Dude, Devin is going to be good. I'm excited.
I'm
my claim.
I'm excited to see
Okay.
Devin Dampier at Utah, but that's because I like Kyle Whittingham a lot. Like I feel like
I do too.
it's a good culture for him to go into. So, all right, man. Well, that was a lot of fun. This is going to be the Baron Morton conversation's only going to heat up with more videos that get released of him. Conrad saw him throw a 15-yard pass to a guy in the middle of the field with nothing around and got giddy. So it's going to be really interesting to see kind of where the summer goes for Baron Morton.
Hey, y'all were talking about his arm not coming back from surgery. I think he's okay.
Yeah, and I hope he is. I'm looking forward to him. So, hey, real
you
quick.
do not. You want Will Hammond to play.
That's not true. I'm not going to go there yet. Maybe talk to me in August. So, hey, real quick, before we get to our Tommy Tubervilles and close the show, Big shout out to the softball team and the tennis team on winning Big 12 championships. You've now had 5 Big 12 titles, and if you count I think it was a cheerleading national championship, and I'm sure we won meat packing somewhere along the line, and this year too. So meat judging. Sorry, judging, packing. I don't know. I'm not going to pretend I know what that is. Shout out, man. Your athletic program is doing a ton of good work, which is great. So, and then also just a little housekeeping here. If you haven't listened to our episode with President Skuvenek, go check that out. We had a lot of fun talking to the president of the university. Great interview. We've had a lot of good feedback on that. So if you haven't listened to that, make sure to go listen to that episode. So, all right, Tommy Tubervilles of the week. I honestly might be the most excited for this segment this week than any week we've done it. And Conrad, I want to go to you first because this is really one. Just for the people listening, we've got a document up, and Zyler's got something on there. I have no clue what it means, so I'm looking forward to Zyler's. But Conrad, I'm gonna let you go first, dude, because this is like 8 months in the making for you.
Yeah, my Tommy Tuberville of the week this week is one that it's been smoking on the smoker for a while. It's been marinating. It's been building to this point.
But you've had that smoker on like 450. It's been burning in there.
It's been like 650. So this one's ready. It's actually time to come off. It was time a long time ago. My Tommy Tuberville of the week is Shedeur Sanders. Guys, I've never really been fond of Shedeur. I'm sure if I got to maybe hang out with him, my opinions would be different. But seeing him slide the way he did in the NFL draft was absolutely amazing. It made me so happy. Not that I want to root on someone's downfall, because you don't want to do that, but apparently with all the reports that were out there about how he acted in interviews, about how I thought he was overrated during the season, even with his statistics. NFL teams obviously saw a guy who didn't interview very well, was apparently very entitled. I don't know why they would ever think something like that with, his little wristwatch thing and, Stay Shining, that song. I have no clue why they would ever think something like that. But the NFL basically said, Shedeur, we don't think you're that good. And then it ends in the best fashion ever, where he goes to the quarterback graveyard of all quarterback graveyards, the Cleveland Browns. The Cleveland Browns drafted another quarterback that was very entitled and thought very highly of himself, and we all know how that ended. And then they draft Shedeur, so we'll see how this ends. Maybe it's wrong, but the slide from a top 5 pick to what was it, the 6th round?
5th round.
I mean, that's just 5th. Sorry. At that point, does it really matter, though? Unless you pick 199, as we know, because Tom Brady just thinks that's the best pick ever. And so that's, Shedeur Sanders is my Tommy Tuberville of the week, maybe the year.
Yeah,
maybe my life.
Talk about an unprecedented fall. I mean, one of the most talked about falls in draft history, I would say.
But he stayed. It was perfect timing, though, as Shedeur would say.
He's legendary timing as well.
Legendary.
Clay, that's gonna piggyback on your Tommy Tuberville of the week.
Yeah, I actually wanted to make a late change, but I will give. I'll actually hand out 2 Tommy Tubervilles if you'll allow it.
Dude.
Okay.
It's your birthday. It was your birthday week.
Mm-hmm. Oh, thank you, man. That's a great gift. Okay. Anyways. So my first one, I will piggyback off Conrad, and my Tommy Tuberville is the Cleveland Browns for putting together the absolute funniest QB room in NFL history. They have a massage parlor terrorist, Deshaun Watson. They got a guy who voted in the 2004 presidential election. They've got a QB who wears gloves, and then they decide to draft Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders this year to make it 5 QBs, none of which are good. So I'm excited to see how that plays out this season. My second one, which is a last minute addition, is Jay Billis. He put out a video on Twitter.
Oh my goodness, that's a great one.
Thank you, man. He put out a video on Twitter explaining why NIL is actually good for college athletics as a whole. And he made up a scenario in his head where Wichita State can now pay Kansas's 4th best player to come be their best player, which I don't think has ever happened. But I was looking through Wichita State's, basketball history. They won 20 games in 10 straight seasons and 30 games 4 times in that stretch. since NIL has become a thing, they have not eclipsed 19 wins in a season. So I know they're over there in Wichita thanking their stars that they're now able to poach players off of Kansas's roster. So Jay Billis, you're my second Tommy Tuberville of the week.
Dude,
Okay,
Clayton is the GOAT at Tommy Tuberville.
He is. I was going to say
unbelievable.
two thoughts there. What the description of the Browns quarterback room is probably the best description of any quarterback room I've heard in my entire life. And two, I'd love to know what Wichita State's or like. I'd love to know what Kansas' fourth best player, like who they're poaching, and like the fact that Billis would even just assume that's like the best analogy to give. I did not even hear that. That is hilarious.
In what world is the starting player for Kansas going to Wichita State because they want more minutes?
Right. Yeah.
It's like, I'm KJ Adams. I want to play for the Shockers.
The best players from these mid majors are coming to sit on the bench at high majors.
Yeah. To cash a check.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Z. I don't know if you've changed yours or not. I don't know what this means, but if you have changed it, you've got to at least explain what your original one was. But what is your Tommy of the week?
Yeah, so if you're addicted to Twitter like I am, this has been all the rage over the last week. There's a big question going around whether if you had 100 men versus one silverback gorilla, if 100 men could defeat a silverback gorilla. And I just want to say that that's patently insane. And silverback gorillas have lost their touch if people are thinking they can handle a silverback gorilla. We need to see more maulings. People need to be reminded what those animals are capable of. They're absolutely winning every time. So my Tommy Tuberville is the silverback gorilla PR team. They need to get their work up. It's terrible that this is even a question. So that's my Tommy Tuberville of the week.
Is it just 100 guys or is it like 100... offensive
100 guys just with your bare hands. If Brennan, if you just cloned and there was 100 of you versus one silverback gorilla,
if there were 105'7", 160-pound guy, 100 of us going at a silverback.
Can you take on a gorilla? Can they take down a silverback?
No, not even.
That's
close.
what I said.
But I'm thinking like if you got like 6. Like if you got 100 like Nick Bosa's, like I'm trying to think of like an iron or and you think they stand a chance?
I mean, I think they stand a chance, but like there are people that think it's definitively 100 humans win, and I think that's insane. Like gorillas are like 600 pounds.
That's insane. You're right. No, you're absolutely right. The silverback gorilla. But okay, I don't know. Yeah, no, you're right. That is
now if it's 100 BEHREN MORTONs, I think they take him.
It's 100. Anyway, that gorilla is screwed. Okay, I'll close us with Conrad. Mine. Dude, Mel Kiper. I mean, I don't know if you guys watched this, but he's on. It's Reese Davis and Louis Riddick, and I don't know who was in the middle than Mel Kiper. Mel Kiper is like Shador's fall is one of the stupidest things in NFL draft history. He said for 50 years, NFL executives have not been able to judge and grade quarterbacks. So for 50 years, the NFL has been stupid when it comes to grading quarterbacks, where Mel Kiper has been successful. The same Mel Kiper that said that Jimmy Clausen was going to take over the NFL. If you don't know who that is, there's a reason you don't know who that is. And that it just looked like a little boy that got his lunch taken away and had to cry about it. Like he rated Shador as the 5th best prospect. The dude falls to the 100th, and Mel Kiper is on there. And even Reese Davis and Louis Riddick are like, Mel, relax. Like no one here is batting 1,000. Reese Davis like, Mel, no one's batting 1,000 here. It was like an embarrassing moment on draft to like watch a guy do that. It was one of the weirdest things I've seen in sports. And like, I don't know what you'd call that. Sports analyzing? I don't know what you'd say. Sports commentary. It was bizarre.
Brennan, I have a theory for that. I think Dion's check to Mel diminished every round that Shador fell.
Dude,
and so he was really upset that the dollar amount got less and less and less because his propaganda machine did not achieve the results that Dion and Shador wanted.
Conrad, you're joking about that, but I legitimately, it looked so bad. You actually have to think if he was in someone's pocket. Like it was that bizarre. It was that.
What's
bizarre.
crazy is
it was strange.
No one has any clue. Like Tom Brady is the perfect example. You don't have any clue of who's going to work out at quarterback. Like there are very few sure things at quarterback. I mean, truly. Like, I mean, there was one. I mean, his name was Patrick Mahomes, and he's the greatest ever. But you really don't have that many sure things at quarterback. So I don't know. Mel's
I just thought
antics were something to behold.
It was just weird. And for that, Mel Kiper is my fraud of the week, because not only were you just stupid wrong, you also looked like a moron. So, but maybe not as bad as Jay Billis. I don't know. Okay, Z, close us out with our tech trivia question of the day.
Yep. Speaking of the NFL draft, I wanted to go back since the year 2000. There have been 2 players drafted in the top 10 by Texas Tech. Do you know who both of them are?
Mahomes and Tyree Wilson.
2 offensive players, excuse me.
Oh, Crabtree.
Oh, Crabtree and Mahomes.
Crabtree was Crabtree.
Crabtree was number 10. Crabtree was number 10.
Was he in the top 10? Okay, I'll go with that. Mahomes and Crabtree.
It was Mahomes and Crabtree.
Okay.
I wondered if somebody would have reached for. I was thinking if there was another offensive guy, and it's really you've only had 3 top 10 picks in the last 25 years, which it felt like you've had more than that. You've had some guys that have actually gone number 1 overall back in the 60s, but I didn't think anybody would get that question. So
no way. Man, there you go. 2 number 5s. Maybe there's a thing about that number at Tech. We'll have to see. Anyone who's wearing 5? Caleb Douglas. Come on, man.
There you go.
It's your turn. It's your turn.
I think we should retire number 5.
No,
because of Caleb Douglas.
Yeah,
exactly. CD, baby.
Because of Caleb's 2025, he'll catch 20 tutties from Barron, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the crazier things have happened, right?
It can happen.
I mean, Sam Levitt is a legitimate college player.
That's a fair point.
And that is a great point to end this show on. Sam Levitt, college best quarterback in the Big 12. We'll debate it later this summer as well. Well, hey, that was a lot of fun, guys. So make sure, again, if you are still listening, to like this video, subscribe to our channel so you never miss an episode. You can follow all of our social media channels in the description below as well. So for Conrad, Clayton, and Zyler, I am Brennan. We'll catch you guys next time on the Broadway Shuffle. Wreck 'em.